Bulavanaka, my name is Kenneth Nalalama and I am from Lovala campus. My navigator is Rosarine Rafai. Welcome to my UU204 Matai Photo Collage in Acropora, Florida, also known as Branch Coral. My PowerPoint will introduce you to the aim of my Matai, followed by the benefits of the coral, what is causing the extinction of the branch coral, and what happens if it becomes extinct. On slide number 2, the picture above, you can see one of the species of Acropora florida, known as the large colony with compact fused branches. This picture of the branch coral was taken in 2016 by photographer Emre Turek in London Divinity, which the coral was healthy and striving when they went diving at the coast of Marshall Islands. On slide number 3, after 3 years, Emre Turek and London Divinity went back to the same spot where they went diving to check the branch corals. The photographers were surprised as to how the healthy reef has deteriorated due to pollution and many more. As seen in the picture above, the branch coral does not have its healthy green color anymore because it is slowly decaying. On slide number 4, I will be highlighting some of the benefits of the branch coral, which are it shelters the fishes or acts as home for the fishes lays their eggs in the coral in order to protect it against predators, the fishes feeds on microorganisms on the corals as their source of food. It does not only benefit the fishes but other marine life species in the ecosystem. They all together help thrive. As you can see to the picture on your left, you see a school of fishes feeding and living on the corals, swimming freely. Also, it breaks down large waves, allowing just the right amount of wave to fit the shoreline in order to avoid big waves passing by and causing coastal erosion. The coral protects microorganisms living on the coral, in which they help the coral to thrive and the coral helps them from being swept away by the wave currents. As you can see to the picture on your left, you can see that the reef or coral is breaking down the waves. Another most important benefit of the branch corals is that it provides fishes for the coastal communities. The coral acts as home for the fishes and gives them their source of food for microorganisms, and also benefits the coastal communities such as villages that are living near the sea, in which they can go and fish or dig up for clam shells and everything in order to feed their family. So it forms as a source of food type or food source for coastal communities. On slide number 5, we'll be talking about what is causing the extinction of the branch corals. On the first picture on your left, you can see emissions of greenhouse gases from factories, which is one of the leading causes. And the few sub-issues that I've highlighted here on the PowerPoint is that the warming of the surface of the waters is causing coral bleaching. Also, storms have increased the risk to the physical structure of the coral, and due to strong winds, these strong winds are breaking down the physical structure of the coral. if climate change makes it even more frequent and intense, it's even going to make it worse and faster to break down the physical structure of the corals. And, and lastly, ocean acidification is the result of increased carbon dioxide, especially if we can look at the case of Tonga. The volcanic eruptions causing ocean acidification, which is killing marine life species and also corals. And the second cause of extinction of the branch coral that I've highlighted is overfishing and shipping activities. The depletion of key and sub-issues are the depletion of key species is due to overfishing, which is needed to maintain the ecosystem. All the species around the branch corals all play a part, and they all need each other in order to maintain a healthy ecosystem. And when it is overfished and it lacks in one area, it causes disruption to the food chain or to the system chain of what keeps the balance in check. Also, drenching boat anchors and shipping lanes can severely damage the physical structure of the corals. Drenching is when big shipping nets are pulling the fishes. You might as well break the corals. It's foreseeable. Also, boat anchors, they drop their anchors into the ocean, and if they drop it on top of the coral, they're breaking the physical structure of the coral. And also shipping lanes, which are really heavy and which can disrupt marine life sources and the physical structure of the coral reefs. And also, oil spillage from ships harms the coral, all the reef as well as ecosystem. I mean, we all know what oil spillage does to the ocean, right? It can cause on fire, it kills marine life species because they're literally breathing or drinking the oil spillage, which is not normal. And the most common one that everybody knows is pollution. Pollution. And the sub-issues are coastal populations might have sewage disposal tanks. For example, all the houses in Novella Beach here, they all have their pipelines, or masses, they all have their waste pipelines going to the ocean, which is causing pollution to the ocean. Also, fertilizer and manure from farms near the coast can have runoffs into the ocean. Coastal farms, if villages on a farm, they tend to use minerals for their gardens, and precipitation happens, rain happens, and it flows into the ocean. And also, developments along the coastline can cause sedimentation. For example, in the case in Singatoka, those sand extracts and those big developments that is happening along the coast of the Singatoka River are causing sedimentation into the river, which is pouring into the ocean, causing extinction to the branch coral, and it all ends up if you look at slowly. Also, coastal communities that throw rubbish into the ocean are killing the marine life sources. From my experience, in the village in Taibuni, they tend to have this tendency of throwing their waste into the ocean. And I even hear some elders say that they throw it to the ocean because the sharks feed on them. But no, when I'm grown up, now I'm in university, now I see the bad effects of it. In which we need to educate our elders in the village, in the communities, on why polluting is bad. And on the picture, the second picture on your left, you can see picture of overfishing or drenching. And at the bottom of it, the third picture on your left, you can see pollution and what pollution can do. And also the thing about pollution of throwing garbage into the ocean is that turtles feed on jellyfishes, and they tend to think that floating plastic are jellyfishes, and they eat it and they choke and they die. Not only marine life, not only turtles, but other marine life species. slide number 6, we will be discussing what would happen if it becomes extinct, or what would happen if branch coral becomes extinct. And the first point that I came up with is coastal communities depend on their ocean for their food source, and the reef provides them with fishes, octopus, crabs, and many more. Coastal communities also depend on some species on the reef so that they can be used for medicine. For example, they boil octopus with water so that they can extract the liquid from it in order to treat severe headaches or chest pains. As you can see on the picture on your left, you can see people living in the coastal communities of Fiji on the canoe fishing because they depend on their life sources. And if the reefs are extinct, corals are extinct, they will obviously not provide fishes or other marine life species in which the coastal communities usually depend on. And also, healthy coral ecosystem. Without a healthy coral ecosystem, there will be no food source that the villagers will depend on. Fishes and other marine life species that depend on the coral will no longer have a place to feed on. As I've mentioned before, the villagers highly depend on these reefs, on the branch corals and so on for their source of food. And if you can see on the picture on your left, that is how a healthy coral looks like. And look at the amount of species thriving, such as fishes, and it looks healthy because it has this color. And on the picture on your right, you see a man pointing at a land area that has been claimed by coastal erosion. And Mr. Tevita is very worried about its issue, and also due to the impacts of climate change. In which my point for that picture is, if there is no reef, waves will be too big to fit the shoreline, in which will come onto shore, intruding the land and causing erosion. As I've mentioned on the benefits of the branch coral, one of the benefits of the reefs is that it controls the amount of wave that passes them, and they allow a certain amount of wave just to pass through, just to fit the shoreline. It's amazing how they do it, but it's a really important species of reef. And the corals. And if there are no corals, and if they become extinct, what is there to control the size of the wave coming in? And that causes coastal erosion. Big waves are coming in, splashing over the seawall and are claiming land slowly as time goes by. This is how erosion happens. And there is really bad effects. And if you look at one of the case studies that from the Vunisea village in Acropora province, the original lands of the people of Vunisea is on the coastal communities, on the coastline of the shoreline. But due to coastal erosion, widening of the river mouth, and etc., and frequent storms have destroyed their shelters, their homes, and etc., it has caused the villagers to move out to the end of their upper land point to avoid coastal erosion and so on. And it really devastated these villages because their ancestors gave them those lands. They have lived there for over 100 of years from their ancestors, and them moving is another way of homes being lost. And they've been attached to the place, and people are even buried near the villages, and that's what the case study was saying, that they really were attached to their lands. But without these reefs, and in Tevita's case, he's worried about coastal erosion coming in. And that is one of the negative effects if the branch corals becomes extinct.